Okay, we are here with City Council candidate Doug Trussler. Doug, so great to have you here. Thanks for stopping by, and why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and why you're running?
Sure. Doug Trussler, candidate. I've lived in Santa Monica now for 25 years, or the better part of 25 years. I've built my business here. My kids go to school here. I love it here. And I've watched the city with probably more and more scrutiny over the last several years. And as I've watched, particularly with this sort of announcement of the fiscal distress and the fact that my office is at the end of the promenade, I thought that, I should take a closer look and see if I might be able to provide, some help to the city. And when I looked at it, I do feel like I can make a difference in what's going on. And so that's principally why I'm running. I'm running to make a difference in the city, help improve the economy, improve our fiscal situation, and ultimately position the city so it can go back to spending on all the wonderful things it's done over the years for affordable housing, socioeconomic diversity, things that make this city really special.
Okay, thanks. I wanted to ask you about one comment in your questionnaire. You wrote, I led the community and regulatory approval process for a toxic industrial chemical facility in an urban neighborhood. This
Hmm.
required building genuine community support, non-manufactured consent in a situation where public skepticism was entirely warranted. So, as you might imagine, that caught my eye a little bit. Can
Yeah.
you share a little bit about that story and your role in it?
Yeah, sure. It's a recycling facility for silicon. Silicon's used in the semiconductor industry and obviously in a lot of green technologies. Wafers, solar panels. And so that facility itself, what it does is it takes the waste that's produced in those processes and it recycles it. But it uses chemicals that could be harsh, to the environment. And so the standards that we have to achieve there are that the water leaving the facility has to be cleaner than the water coming in. So, it was a long process, a 4-year process of getting that approved. I think it's just an example of some of the things that I've done that sort of put me on the other side of the table versus, what a city council does. So like I said, I've seen it from that perspective. I think we worked very well with the city of Ventura and the state of California in getting that approved. It's now been in operation for 13 years. We haven't had one problem, and we've recycled a ton of material that's only helped the world.
Got it. Thanks. Okay, who's up? Who's up? If not, I can always ask another one. Okay, let's go to Sean.
Hi, Doug. Thank you for being with us. On your website, you raise a number of issues related to being the end of the line for the metro as kind of potentially a source of challenges and, seeking to kind of address that. And it kind of, I wanted to kind of maybe discuss that, but one of the concerns I had as someone that relies on that metro line, and often I'm taking the last train home so that I can get home from work and gym and other places. uh, I'm concerned that Metro might reduce the amount of service to Santa Monica in reaction to that sort of feedback. So
Right.
what sort of assurance can you give me that you have a commitment to maintaining the level of public transit infrastructure serving Santa Monica residents and businesses, and perhaps even increasing that infrastructure rather than seeking to curtail that transit connectivity?
Yeah, I'm not interested in curtailing anything. I think the two are mutually exclusive. I think we can continue with what the Metro does today and providing the citizens of residents of Santa Monica with the service it does. I think one of the challenges is sort of what happens on a daily basis with the unhoused population, particularly downtown, where if you've spent a lot of time, I mean, I was at the Mission last Wednesday, and it's a never ending battle over there for what they're trying to solve. And that population sometimes thinks, I think, that Santa Monica is more of a version of Hawaii for them, and they use the metro to come this way. And it's I totally understand it. I mean, sleeping downtown would not be my favorite place to sleep. So I'd be looking for alternatives too. And unfortunately, they use the metro to accomplish that. So I think we have to have a way of monitoring, measuring, and hopefully trying to change some of the behavior around that so that we can limit, some of the damage that happens to Santa Monica. I just unfortunately think we have a non-proportional responsibility in Santa Monica with the unhoused population. And I think it's becoming unaffordable for our city to continue to bear the responsibility of that. So I think there has to be tools and steps taken that don't impact what you're talking about and impacting your ability to travel freely around the city. But I do think we have to take the necessary steps to make some changes in how we allow people to move on the metro, maybe without paying, or to end up in Santa Monica only to add to our unhoused problem.
And I guess I'm sorry to, but I will note that it's not just me, but often many employees that are businesses do rely on this metro.
Absolutely, it's important. We couldn't live without it. Super important.
It is buses that people rely on transit as well. So I would just want to note that, these challenges, we can't just think about in terms of the train, but we have to also think about the bus lines as well.
I agree.
Okay, Mike.
Hey, Doug.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Oh, good. So besides leave out the downtown and the commercial corridors and state mandated upzoning, what
Mhm.
upzoning do you support in the single family neighborhoods and in the multifamily neighborhoods of the city?
Well, let's start with maybe the residential areas. I mean, I do. It's a tough thing for me to answer because, I will answer it, but I just want to let you know. I think for somebody who's saved, spent a lifetime saving their money to buy a house in a residential area, and then for the rules to change because we have a density requirement and we're trying to achieve some density goals. I think it's pretty hard for a citizen to shoulder that. Like I said, that saved maybe their whole life to buy a house. On the flip side, we do have challenges. We need housing, so we need to look at it very carefully. I still haven't made up my mind whether I think you're referring to SB 1123, whether or not that's a good solution for our residential neighborhoods. I think there's trade-offs there that are important to evaluate. So I guess that on that front, I would say I'm kind of mixed on the view of that one. I think it's a tough one. But I don't have a problem from my perspective if it impacted my house. I mean, I obviously have the liberty to move if I so wanted to. I wouldn't, but if I wanted to, I could. But not everybody has that flexibility. Some people have, like I said, can't do that, either age or income requirements that don't let them do that and don't give them the flexibility. So if they don't want, condos next to them in a residential area, I think it's a tough decision. So obviously it's a state requirement, so it's maybe there's not much we can do at a local level.
Yeah, I'm focusing on beyond state requirements.
Okay,
And
well,
also please answer the multifamily neighborhood as
yeah,
well.
okay. In multifamily, like I said, I don't have a problem with more density in multifamily. I think it's something that we got to look at. Rent control units obviously are getting to the point where they're 60, 70, 80 years old. I think we need to design solutions that allows us to prevent. I don't know if these are possible. I'm just sort of scratching the surface of these things right now, but we need to come up with solutions that allow rent control buildings to be upgraded and at the same time providing more housing in the city. So in the multifamily area, I think we need to continue to explore options that give us more density. I don't. I personally support that. Like I said, the residential neighborhoods are a little tougher for me, given my argument that I made to you.
Okay, Isabel.
Let's see, unmute there. Hi, Doug.
Hi, how are you doing?
Uh, Good. So I see you're running on a fiscal platform,
Hmm.
and you talk about the financial problems of the city. It's kind of a two-part question. Would you say the residents aren't being told the truth about? So I'm curious about that statement because the city did declare a financial emergency last year. So I did hear a lot about that, and a lot of what's happened since then has been about addressing it. And then the second part is because, the city has the realignment plan and so on, what would you want to be doing beyond what the city is doing now to address that?
Okay, so I guess maybe I'll start first with transparency. I mean, coming from the private sector, we have sort of a different standard for that. I mean, we are incredibly transparent and have to be, or our jobs would be on the line, if not something worse. I will give you an example, perfect example. Right now, we're sitting 10 days from the end of the year. We have no idea what fiscal 2026 looks like from the city's perspective. The last time we got an update was probably that's a real update that you can rely on was probably in the fall of last year. So we're 6 months later with no idea how the city's doing this year. So that's one of my frustrations. That information, like I can go on state of California and find what's happening with tax receipts in the city of Santa Monica, but I can't go find that at this, on the city of Santa Monica's city website. So there's just things like that kind of make it frustrating for me. I don't really have a good sense where we are this year. We are talking about approving right now a 26-27 budget, which has kind of a $35 million shortfall. So in that, it includes the realignment plan. And if you look at the realignment plan, I think sort of 6 months into our realignment plan, we're going to miss it by about 50%. And so when I think about the realignment plan, it's not really doing the job it was supposed to do. The other sort of frustrating part about the realignment plan is half of it comes from new taxes. And we continue to weigh on the citizens with new taxes. Very little of it comes from new economic activity. Only about $2 million of the $30 million they're forecasting comes from new economic activity. So I guess where I would spend my time is focusing on the new economic activity. I mean, we have to restart the engines here in Santa Monica. The tourist industry is down almost 60% from its peak. We're the only Southern California city that has had that experience. Almost all other Southern California cities are back to 2019 levels. We are not. That's a huge problem. Our hotel industry is 20% of our revenues, our tax revenues to the general fund. Our hotel industries are suffering. The Fairmont Hotel over the last 10 years has experienced same store sales declines or revenue decline, room rate revenue declines. It's the only Fairmont in the world that's the case. I mean, these are problems that we got to attack, and we got to attack the root of them first, which is what I plan on doing. Did I answer your question?
Well, you answered the first part. So what's the second part is what would you do?
Well, I think you have to start with if you spend some time on my website, the platform is, first we have to attack crime. I think the police force is doing that. I think we're seeing real progress. Crime levels in Santa Monica are extremely high. There are very few Southern California cities that have higher crime rates than Santa Monica. So we have to bring that down first. Second is we have to start to solve the homeless problem. We have 10 to 12 homeless per 1,000 residents. Beverly Hills has less than one. Manhattan Beach has less than one. We have to attack that. I'm not saying we have to reduce it by 100%, but we have to get it down 20 or 30%. We've lost 5,000 to 7,000 employees downtown, either from the tourism industry or just businesses shrinking in size. So we have to put more foot traffic back down there, and we have to restart the engines on the downtown economy. There's ways of doing this, but the first thing to do is you have to start making steps in those three areas. And then when you do that, we're going to go out and start talking to businesses about returning to Santa Monica. That's something I've done my whole career is obviously gone around and talked to folks about why they should do something or why they shouldn't do it. I think we could then start to tell the story about why Santa Monica. Obviously, we got an incredible school system. We're going to be building an incredible park. We've got the beach and we've got the college. And I think if we use those four resources as a method of attracting businesses back to Santa Monica, we'll start to make some progress. But we have to do it. This has to be done at a city council level. This isn't going to be done at any other level. Somebody has to actually go out and tell Santa Monica's story and reattract businesses back here.
Okay, Kay.
Hey, Doug.
Hi.
What do you believe are the underlying or root causes of crime, and how can City Council work to address those?
Well, that's a difficult question. I think certainly some of the crime. I mean, if you just look at the arrest levels in the city, I mean, 70% of the calls go out to homeless. About 20% of the arrests are homeless. That's a big problem for the city. It's a problem in the sense that like what I want to do with the city is one of the things I want to do is start getting involved in managing the theft that goes on at some of the retail stores because it's a big reason why retailers don't want to come back to Santa Monica. So we have to develop a plan around that. I think I have one, but if you're looking for a root problem, I would say it starts unfortunately with our unhoused not having the resources that they need, and therefore they're taking steps that obviously impact the civil liberties of everybody else. And that's certainly a big part of the crime. Obviously, we're a tourist destination, so tourism brings, in every tourist destination in the world, crime is higher. So that certainly brings crime levels higher in Santa Monica. I guess if I were to point to two of the major drivers, I'd probably pick those two.
But going back further, what's the root cause? What leads to that? Like if you're saying that crime is all homeless people, or just like
Yeah, I'm not saying it's all homeless people. I'm just saying they contribute to it, and
right,
I'm saying the tourism industry, is it
right. But
contributes to it.
but so what leads to that? Like what leads a person to commit a crime, or what
Well,
is the
obviously, it's the circumstances in life that they're presented with. Where they've determined that that's the only alternative that they can take at that point in their where they're at in their life. So I mean, obviously we do need to tackle that. That's a bigger problem. I do think the city can do some things on that, but it's a bigger problem that exists across the country, which is income equality. I mean, that's one of the big problems with why crime exists is because we have for a very wealthy country, we have a lot of folks that really struggle to get by.
right? And so then, what can locally, or how can we address that issue?
Well, one of the things I'd love for the city to be able to do, and it's obviously there's some legislation out there now that's going to make this possible, but I think it's still an exploratory area for like cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco, Oakland, is being able to provide renters with the opportunity to buy. One of the things that I think is one of the big impactors in income inequality is the fact that when people don't own real assets, they get left behind by the ones that do own real assets because real assets have appreciated over time. So I think that's one of the things we need to solve. I also think that just general affordability is a big problem. If we were able to fix Santa Monica's economy, I think that the problems right now are costing our city about $100 million a year. If we had $100 million to solve some of the affordability problems, I think we could bring crime levels down quite a bit.
Thanks for your answer.
All right. Lynn, get the last
Hi,
word.
Doug. Did you am I unmuted yet? Did you say that there are 10 homeless people per 1,000 residents in Santa Monica? Is
Yeah,
that what you,
we have about 90,000 people and about somewhere between 900 and 1,000 homeless people, depending on which count you want to use.
wow, I'm glad you had that figure. What specific actions will you take as a city council member to make that percentage come down?
Well, what I'd like to be able to do is implement a path over the next 12 to 18 months to target sort of a 20 to 30% reduction. I think the city council is starting to think about a lot of these measures that they could take. Obviously, it's the services that we provide. We've been an incredibly generous city for so long, and I'm not saying we shouldn't continue to be, but the services are a magnet for homeless folks. And if we're going to continue to do that, we have to figure out a way to better manage the ones that we have, the homeless that are coming in to get them housed and get them off the street. It's a combination of everything. There's not any one solution that's going to work here. It's going to be housing. It's going to be the metro. It's going to be the services. It's going to be policing. Everything's going to play a role in it. Just like this is a very complex problem. I mean, I'm certainly not the first one to talk about this, and there's lots of people that know a lot more about this that have talked about it that are still struggling to come up with good solutions. I think there are some signs of light in cities like San Francisco and San Jose, and maybe even south of us in Redondo, where the tools that they're implementing are working, and you're starting to see some reductions. And I don't want to be the tip of the spear in Santa Monica, but I do want to emulate some of the things that have been done in those cities. So, like I said, I think that kind of target's a reasonable target over the next 12 to 18 months, and then we can start to market the city again. We can talk about the progress we're making. All these things have to be done in baby steps. There's not going to be one large step that allows us to solve this problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Mike, you can have the last word.
Yeah, just very quickly, since you seem to have these figures, what is the count per thousand population in the city of Los Angeles, which surrounds us on three sides, and what is it in the county of Los Angeles?
I don't have the county, but I mean, it's approximately 40,000, I believe, in the city of Los Angeles on a count of 4 million. So
So it's basically the same.
basically the same, yeah.
Okay, thank
I
you.
apologize, I don't have the county numbers.
Okay, well, thanks so much, Doug. I appreciate you coming by and looking forward to seeing you again soon.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.